I've been 3D printing for over 2 years now, and in that time, I've used about $1,500 in resin across many brands. I try not to think about that number too much, it hurts my wallet and my sense of well being. But when I look back, I do feel a little better about spending that much on resin because I've painted almost everything I've printed. And in the last year and a half alone, I've painted about 400 models, and a handful of those were display pieces that took a long time, and I took a 3 month break during that time. So I have definitely gotten my money's worth out of that resin. Another good thing about all of that resin is it taught me a lot about 3D printing. I mean, every bottle is basically experience points toward your 3D printing skill. And over that time, I've had a ton of success and a ton of failures, and I've learned from all of it. This video is going to be me sharing my experience with each type of resin I've used and my thoughts on which one is the best all-around resin for people that want to print miniatures for gaming and painting, including display painting. As I work through the resins, I'll share my results after printing and after painting. They're going to be photos mostly because I don't have a lot of videos of the items, and it's a lot easier to display a photo. You can pause the video, you can look at it for a while, you can blow it up on a computer screen or a TV, see all the flaws in my painting. Most of this video will be my impromptu feelings about each resin and my experience with the brand as a whole. I'll spend more time with some resins than others since I have more experience with them. And at the end, I'll share my favorite resin, or maybe resins. Keep in mind, this is my experience with the resins I've used. I'm just sharing my opinion on them. You may have a different experience. I'm just making this video to show actual results from someone that spends a lot of time printing. I have a few hot takes that will annoy some people, but that's okay. They're wrong. Are my prints perfect every time? No, but I have around a 99% success rate with my prints, and most of my failures are from poorly pre-supported models from the maker and not user error. Are my print settings on the bleeding edge of what you can get with one of my machines? Also no. But like I said, my prints don't fail, and as you'll see in the video, they look pretty darn good. Here are my default settings in ChiduBox for both of my printers. I have a Mars 3 and an Anycubic Photon Mono 2K, like the old one. It's dead now, but that's because it's at end of life. I think I got about 3,000 printing hours out of it, so more than you're supposed to get, and I'm happy I got my money's worth. These settings work great as a baseline if you're using a Mars printer. Try my Mars 3 settings. They should translate pretty well to even newer printers, like newer Saturns, stuff like that. And it won't be 100% right because each printer is different, even same model. Like one has a hotter light source, some have a colder light source, and same with Anycubic. My Anycubic settings work well in an Anycubic, and it will at least get your stuff printed so you can start diagnosing your other issues. Here's a little printing advice after all this time I've been printing. A lot of people just get too far into the weeds with exposure settings. Like, you don't need to be on the bleeding edge. Like, get a good exposure setting, get a good lift setting. If you're printing some hollow stuff, work on the light delay, and then you're good to go. Like, don't overthink it. Just print your models. And I'm going to add this in here because I always have to add this in videos. Wear safety gear. Wear a respirator. Wear gloves. There's no reason not to, and you should. This is toxic. Resin is toxic. Like, it's not worth the risk. I mean, hey, what I saved in printing instead of buying plastic models, I can spend later on when I've ruined my health for my entire life. I may not know you, but I do care about your physical well-being. Like, this is why these warnings are here. I'm not trying to sound like a jerk. I just don't want anyone to do anything unsafe with these toxic chemicals. Like, wear safety gear. The cost is negligible and the gain is infinite. Now that we have that out of the way, let's dive into all the resins I've used over the past 2 years. I sorted the resins by how much experience I have with the brand. So it starts with the most experience and works down to the least experience. First up is Tech. I've used blue, tenacious, fast gray, and fast navy gray. Tech is very good. They have a really good Facebook group. They have their own calibration print that you can use, and then you can share photos in the group, and they'll help you diagnose issues and help you dial it in. The first two resins here from Tech are used more as an additive for other resins. You can print models with them on their own, but I don't recommend it. A good ratio for adding these to your other resins is around 10% of this mixed with 90% of your normal resin. Tenacious is a very bendy, flexy resin. It's very sensitive to temperature changes, so you do need to be printing at above 85 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Celsius. I don't know the metric system, so that's just a guess, but I'm pretty sure it's right. I think that's what it says on the bottle. And the tenacious, you add to other resins to give them a little more flexibility, a little more bounce, so they don't just snap like glass. It's very, very finicky printing with just tenacious, and I do not recommend it. Another thing that's great with tenacious is you can use a good ABS-like resin and add a little tenacious, and you just get a little bit more durability. And honestly, I don't do it anymore. Tenacious is expensive, as you can see, and I just don't think it's worth it. Like, I did it for almost a year. Those models are just as durable as my regular ABS-like models. One of the nice things, which I'll bring up when I talk about Fast Navy Gray, is the tenacious. When you mix it with Fast Navy Gray, it does slow down the Fast Navy Gray separating, because you have to mix Fast Navy Gray up all the time. It separates after a single print. It's kind of annoying, but it's worth the hassle. Tech Blue is like an engineering resin. It adds like a durability, like a hardness, and it's nice, but you don't need it. The only reason I got a bottle was because Amazon messed up and sent me a $70 bottle of blue instead of the $35 bottle of smoky black or whatever it is. I never got to use that resin because they sent me the wrong one, and started experimenting with blue. I would mix a little blue, a little tenacious into different resins, and I couldn't really tell the difference. It doesn't really matter. I don't have any fast gray photos because fast gray is terrible to photograph. You can't see the details, and it always looks bad, even in person. The resin is great, and the second you put primer over the resin, you see all the details are all there. They're super crisp. They're super sharp. It prints a little better than Fast Navy Gray. Like, it's a little more resilient to changes in temperature or me just being bad at putting my exposure settings. And I like it. It's a little more durable than the Fast Navy Gray too. It's got a little more flex to it because it's an ABS-like resin. I recommend it, but with those caveats that it looks like crap when you photograph it, or even when you're looking at it in person until you prime it. Here is my favorite, Fast Navy Gray. Well, my favorite out of the Techs. It was my go-to for nearly a year. I really like it. The prints photograph really well. Like, if you're selling prints or something, you should be printing in Fast Navy Gray and photographing them with that. It just looks so good. And it's an ABS-like. It's durable. The only problem is I think it has a matting agent in it that makes it photograph so well. And it separates super quick. So you have to stir your vat after every print. Like, there's just no avoiding it. But like I said, I love Fast Navy Gray. Like, as you can see from these photos, the pictures look great. Like, the prints look really good. When you paint them up, they look great. Like I said, it was my go-to for a very long time. I really like it. and you can't go wrong with it. It's a little pricey compared to other stuff, but you can find it on sale. Let's move on to Elegoo, another fantastic brand of resin. ABS Light Gray and ABS Light Clear Blue, I'm just going to lump together because they print the same, they've got the same durability, and really just, I wouldn't get the Clear Blue unless you need it for a specific purpose like I did, or it's on sale. The ABS Light Gray is great. I think I've used it almost as much as I've used Soraya Fast Navy Gray, and it doesn't photograph as well, but it prints just as good, and I was getting it for a lot cheaper. Like I said before, it's like a $5 difference. I usually went with the Soraya, but at the time I was saving like $10 a bottle. So that's why I was using ABS Light Gray for the longest time. And I still had some leftover Tenacious, so I would add that in there, and just because I was paranoid about durability at the time, but now I'm not. I just print in pure ABS Light Gray when I use it. Standard 2.0 Gray and Space Gray are both their standard resins. I don't know why it's called Space Gray now. It used to just be called Gray or Standard Gray. The Standard 2.0 Gray is a little darker, and I honestly can't tell the difference. Like, it's just standard resin. Like, I got it because it was cheap, and I needed to print statues that no one was going to touch. So that's why I got it. Plus, at the time I was experimenting with new resins, and I just wanted to test something. And they're good. Like, it's just standard resin. Prints well, looks crisp. It's not durable. Here is the water washable gray. It prints really good. Prints just like standard gray, except water washable resin is crap. Like, it's not worth buying. Washing in water is stupid. You're still using a solvent because you need to add something like a degreaser to it. And now you have this wonderful vat of toxin that doesn't evaporate as quick as alcohol, so it's really hard to dispose of. And please, for the love of all that is unholy, do not pour it down the drain. It is toxic. It kills fish. It is bad for us. Yeah, I'm going on a bit of a rant about water washable, but it's because it's bad and it's not worth it. It costs more. It's not worth it. Clean with a solvent. Use a real resin. If you're printing somewhere where you can't use alcohol because it's too stinky, you probably shouldn't be printing there to begin with. And also, water washable resin has a ton of drawbacks. Like, mine were flawless. My prints were perfect. I cleaned them inside and out. I had a hollow print because I wanted to test this, because hollow water washable prints are notorious for splitting and cracking and exploding. I cleaned the inside out really, really, really well. Like, better than I clean my normal prints. I let it dry. I let it evaporate. Then I cured the inside with a UV light. I got a little UV light in the model. Cured everything. Perfect. I still got a split in this bust. Like, it was ridiculous. So, as I said, water washable's crap. Don't get it. I don't like it. It's not worth it. Now we're on to Sunlu, which I just started using, I think this year, or maybe toward the end of last year. A friend of mine started using it. Really liked it. And it was dirt cheap. So I bought a couple of regular gray bottles and some ABS Light Gray. And recently I got the ABS Light Black, but I've just been mixing it because I like having a really dark resin. So I've been mixing it with other resins. Yes, you can mix resins. Just use an exposure setting that kind of meets in the middle between the two resins. And Sunlu's great. Like, I think I used 5 liters of Sunlu Standard Gray to print these walls for Heresy. Like, I needed some Zone Mortalis terrain. And it's great. It prints really well. It's really durable. I will say, a nice thing that Sunlu does is they include filters with each bottle of resin. So you get the box, and inside is a bottle of resin and filters for filtering out particulates when you're swapping out resins. And that's nice because that saves me money. I've been hoarding these filters from all these bottles I bought, and I haven't touched my supply of paint filters I normally use since I started using Sunlu, because you get like 2 or 3, I think. And it's pretty good. Like, it's a good value. I like the bottles. The 2-liter bottles are awesome. It's just like a blown up version of the normal bottle, and it's really cool. Any cubic resin is fine. I've used Standard Plus Gray and Clear, as you can see here. It was weird. This is just a side note. Why is it that Amazon like gaslights you when you click on your old orders? Like I ordered the resin from Anycubic, so it's not like it was some third-party sketchy vendor or something. And I went back to my old order to find the picture of the Standard Plus clear bottle because I wanted to include it in this video. And I clicked on my order and I clicked on the link and it sends me to the product page, but it's not that resin, and it's like Standard Plus white. And Amazon's just like, this is what you bought. I don't know what to tell you. This is what it is. Like, I just don't get why Amazon gaslights you. But anyways, Standard Plus gray and Standard Plus clear are great. Like, I needed clear because I wanted to print these models with a clear effect, and it turned out great. Like, all transparent resins are a little finicky. You're gonna get more visible lines in them because of the light exposure. With opaque resins, you don't have as much of an issue. You have a wider margin of error with opaque resins, but with transparent resins, it's easy to overexpose models because that light bleed is bleeding out to the resin. And standard gray and green resin, it's fine. It's stupid brittle. That stuff is like glass. But if you're printing a statue or something durable or thick, it's fine, especially if you get it cheap. Like, I got the green transparent resin from winning a painting contest. Otherwise, I would have never used it, but I wasn't going to say no to free resin. So what I ended up doing was just mixing it with my opaque resins to make those last a little longer. You get like this goofy looking color, but it works great. And so, I saved a little money. And eco resin is stupid. It's overpriced, and it's eco because they're using soybean oil instead of petroleum-based chemicals to make, I think the plasticizer or something, whatever hardens it up. Goobertown Hobbies has a video about it. He has a PhD in chemistry, so go watch that if you want someone that actually knows what they're talking about to give you a breakdown. Like, all these companies share this eco resin as if you could drink it, and like, that stuff stinks. Like, it's terrible. It's way worse than like Sunlu or Elegoo. And I know some people are sensitive to different smells, but like, don't get the eco resin. Like, you're overpaying for brittle resin that is just a scam. One last thing I want to cover in a little more detail is mixing resins. I see posts all the time where people are like, I have a little bit left in the vat of this resin. What am I supposed to do with the last little bits? I don't have enough to print something. And just mix in your new resin. It doesn't matter. Like, just make sure it's mixed. I mean, I don't even make sure it's mixed. I've had like clear resin in there, and I've just poured gray in, and then my models come out splotchy and hideous, but it prints right. Once I cover it with primer, you can't tell. And like, these prints right here, these are, I think, 8 different resins because I just kept pouring what was left into a little half-liter bottle until the bottle was full. This has Anycubic gray, Anycubic green, Elegoo standard gray, fast gray, tenacious blue. I think Elegoo clear blue might be in there too. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, mix it together, use like your go-to settings, and chances are it will print perfectly fine. And then, you're not wasting resin. You don't have this toxic crap you have to cure before you dispose of your bottles. Another side note, clean out your bottles before you throw them away. Just be responsible with this stuff. So if this part of the video looks or sounds a little different, it's because I thought I was done filming. And then I remembered I never told you what resin I prefer, or resins. And my preference is Soraya Fast Navy Gray. It's just great, looks good. I highly recommend it. I used it for over a year. Elegoo ABS Light Gray. Prints well, it's cheaper, and as long as you're not photographing bare resin models, it's just as good as the Soraya. And then last but not least, like, these can be in any order of preference. Sunlu ABS Light Gray. I've started using the black. It's fine. It's a little glossy, which I don't like. But the Sunlu ABS Light Gray It's very cheap, like $22 a liter cheap. And it's good. Like, that's usually what is on sale. Sometimes the prices are just insane, but that's because it's Amazon. And so, yeah, those are the three. Soraya Tech Fast Navy Gray, Elegoo ABS Light Gray, Sunlu ABS Light Gray. They're good. Get your settings dialed in, and you'll be very happy with them. And now let's get back to whatever's happening in the video other than this. I forgot already. I guess with that, I'm going to end it here. I really appreciate all of you watching. I don't know why I have so many views on my video that I first made, but I really appreciate it. If you want more stuff like this, please leave comments. And I guess I'll see you next time.